All right, I'm here with Marley. This is Marley. And in this video, we're going to go over some tips you can use, and you don't have to hold that now. We're going to go over some tips if you have a dog like Marley that does not like to come when she is called. Now, a couple tips before we even get started. One of the easiest ways to develop a strong recall is to actually reward your dog. Marley, you're going to eat everything, huh? Yes. That was a good drop. Yes, we'll put that over there. Okay, and one of the great ways to develop a strong recall is just waiting for your dog to come to you on its own. So if Marley were to come to me, I'll wait, and see if she does. She has a marker word we've developed, which is yes. Yes. Well, she wasn't paying attention. Now, you're always going to lose to the dog's nose. The dog's nose controls about 60% of their brain. So if your dog's sniffing, try not to call them while they are sniffing. You're just going to help them practice not listening for that word. And I've had some dogs that actually have learned to ignore the recall word. Marley. So I'm trying to do is get her to move away. She's already dropped the object we don't want her to have, which is just a piece of marble or something. So you don't want to physically take the treat, something out of your dog's mouth, because that's going to make them less likely to drop it. So what I did there is I just dropped some treats. She gave up the thing to go get the better value thing, the treat, and then I was able to take it away without her seeing that I took it away. Okay, so the easiest way to develop a strong recall is to pet and reward your dog every time it comes to you on its own. So inside the house, every time Marley came to her guardian, I had her saying yes, which is the marker word we established, and then petting her under her chin. You want to pet a dog under the chin, on the chest, or in the shoulders. You really want to try to avoid petting on top of the head. Now, this is the easiest way to do it because we're not asking Marley to come to us. We're just rewarding her when she does what we want, when she chooses to do so. And once we start telling a dog to do something, then it becomes a choice. Do I want to come to you, or do I want to do something else? Well, in this case, we're just rewarding her when she feels like doing it. And this is something you want to get in the habit of doing. It takes about a month for you to get in the habit of doing it, but every time your dog comes to you and you say yes and pet them, they're more likely to want to come because that means something good is going to happen. Eventually, you want to transition to the point where, let's say the Marley is where the camera is, and I know that she's coming to me. As soon as I see her taking a couple steps towards me, I would say my recall word. In her case, it's come. Now, if you find yourself saying come, 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 and you're saying it a whole lot and the dog's not listening, then it might be time for you to change the recall word to hear, or recall, or attention, or whatever the word you want to use is, because you may have desensitized the dog and caused what's called learned irrelevance. I've heard the word come 1,000 times without being in context, so I don't even listen for it anymore. Just like if you live next to the airport, after a while you don't even hear the airplanes coming and going. Okay, so basically the word we're going to use today is come, but you may want to consider changing it. If you've said come so many times, you may have deadened that word. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of motion, and and also when you're using it, I talked to the guardian about this, make sure you say one word. Come here, come here, over here boy, here girl, dog's name, dog's nickname. That's like 10 different ways of calling a dog. That makes it 10 times as hard for the dog to come. So if we're always saying come or here and no other words, it makes it easier. Marley, come. Yes. This is kind of the way to load the word. Come. Yes. Come. Whoops, that was me. I didn't know it was coming. Come. Yeah, I spooked you a little bit, didn't I? Yep. Come. Yes. All right, so let's see if I can turn around. Marley, let's get you over here. Marley. Yeah, I know that's a big scary thing now, isn't it? Let me undo this around your leg. But we're going to do it the other direction so people can see you coming. Marley, right there. Go ahead and get it. Yeah. Marley. Yeah, go get that. Well, so since she's spooked, I'm not going to do it the other way. If I force her to do what I want, she's now not going to want to participate. And she already kind of wanted to move away because I bumped into that. And she was just a little bit anxious. So the first stage, what we're doing is we're saying, come. And we're backing up. And I'm not pulling her on the leash. Of course, you're not going to cooperate now, are you? Now, when we're doing the first stage for this, come here, Marley. Yes. I say, come. Then I step back. When she comes to me, let's see if I can do it again without bumping it. Come. Yes. Now I'm facing her, which makes me a little bit more engaging for her. And also, I'm moving away. Dogs like to chase and be chased. So if I say come and then I start moving away, that causes her to come to me, and I'm also holding out a treat. So, and I'm saying the word before I move away. So after I come means come to the person, and then when she arrives, I say yes, and then give her the treat. Now she wants to go get the treat? Great. So I'll show you the opposite direction. Marley, come. Yes. And that squirting movement she did was her way of saying, I don't feel comfortable with this. Okay, so that's fine. Now, when we're doing this, we want to use be in an environment where it's nice and relaxed and comfortable. This is a little confined space. I'd prefer more outdoor space, but it's Santa Monica. There's dogs all over the place. This is a nice place we know where we're going to be by ourselves. Marley, come. Marley, come. Yes. Now, Marley is a very determined dog. She kind of is her own dog. She does what she wants. Now, I'm not pulling on a leash, but I'm not releasing the pressure because otherwise she just gets what she wants. Now, I'm a force and punishment-free person, so I'm not forcing her to do it, but I'm not giving in it. And as soon as she comes to me, I can release the tension on a leash when she relaxes it on her own, but I'm going to wait for her to do that. If I pull her, she's already saying, I don't want to come, and now I'm forcing her to come to me. That's going to make her less likely to want to come in the future. I always want to get the dog to come and do what we want them to do on their own. Marley, come. Come. Yes. Now, the other technique that I like to use, yes, is this is what I call a solo. So what it is I'm using my motion and moving away. Come. And I'm not pulling her. And she's coming to me. She's like, don't bump into that fence post again. Okay. Now, the other way that we do this is I'm going to call this the science of the hand. And some of my trainers will point out there's no science to this. This is just kind of how I like to do it. Now, basically, when I call the dog, before I call Marley, I want to have a treat in my hand. And I have my hand at a 90-degree bend right here. Now, for dogs, the lower you go, the more accessible it is to them. So if I just say come, 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 like I talked about earlier, I'm going to make the come cue less valuable, and I'm going to help her practice not coming to me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a positive interrupter sound. When she looks at me, I lower my hand. Yes, she comes to me. Now, we want to do the exercise that I showed you first. Marley, Marley, come. Yes. We want to keep on doing this until when you say come and start going backwards, yes. She's easily coming to you consistently. Don't go to the second stage that I'm about to show you with the hand until that's the case. Now, what I would do is make the positive interrupter sound of, when she looks at me, I start lowering my hand. Yes. When she arrives, I say yes before she gets the treat. And then the treat becomes the reward and the validator. And then she moves away. Great. Marley. Marley, come. Yes. Notice I'm not pulling her. There's no tension on the leash. And when she moves away, that's when the tension is applied because I don't want her to run out of the shot because we want to practice and repeat this. Now, normally when I'm doing this exercise, I like to do it with at least 3 people. Now, since the Guardian is solo, this first exercise that I showed you, the stepping back, is going to be a great one because you could do that on your own. But when you have friends come over, you want to have friends that she's comfortable with, and you want to have a triangle where everybody's 7 feet apart, and again, a place a little bit more spacious than this. And if you're doing this outside, you don't want to use a park that is really busy with people. I just was in Beverly Hills this morning. We picked the park because it's a Thursday. We went there at 8 o'clock in the morning. There were very few people there. The more distractions, the harder it's going to be for the dog to listen. So what I want to do is, if I'm going to be the one calling her, before I call her, I'm holding my hand out with a 90-degree bend. Yes. I've already done the first exercise where we say come and back away. So I'll go ahead and throw a treat to get her moved further away. So I would say, wait for her to finish chewing. Marley, come. Then I lower my hand. Yes, when she arrives, I give her the treat. Then I would wait, and the next person would say, Marley, come. Now, yes, I'll reward that for sure. You're starting to pick up on that. Now, this little thing moving around, she's a little bit startled when I knocked into the post. Things that move like this are going to startle her. Remove this when you're practicing because she's already a little bit anxious. So what we want to do is have about 3 people. We're all 7 feet apart. Only one person calls at a time. So you point at your friend and you say, now. And that person says, has their hand out before they call the dog. A lot of people call the dog, and then the dog looks at you and you're doing this. This does not look like I'm ready to have her come to me. This does. Come. And then I lower my hand. When she arrives, I should have said yes there. Then she gets the treat. Then I point to the next person, and they would say, Marley, come. And then they lower their hand, and she comes to them. So what we're doing is getting her to come, and eventually we want to say just come and not Marley come. I use the dog's name if I want to get their attention, but I don't want to say the name consistently because the first word you use is the most powerful word when you're talking to a dog. Now, she's tired. This has been at the end of a longer session, so she's a little bit pooped. You want to do this in short 2 or 3 minute practice sessions. You always want to end on a positive. Now, first, we're all about 7 feet apart. Eventually, we want to get to the point where we are about 8 feet apart, 9 feet apart, 10 feet apart. And eventually, we're going to be to the point where we're on opposite sides. Now, normally, we would do this in a living room. The Guardian here has a mansion, and there's just too many rooms. We couldn't figure out which one we were going to use, so we decided to do it outside. But basically, you want to do it in a room where we can gradually make those spaces bigger and bigger. So, and eventually, what you'll see is Marley will still like running like a deer towards the person. Yes, because that means that I heard the word here, or coming in her case, and that means if I coded the person, I'm going to get a reward. And after a while, that come becomes a very powerful word. Now, if you say come and she doesn't come to you, then I would use the positive interrupter sound like, and then lower my hand again. If she doesn't come to me, I can just drop the treat like that. She's saying with her body language, I'm done with this exercise. I don't want to keep on pushing because the last repetition is the most important. So if I keep on pushing her, she's going to like, I was frustrated at the end of the time we were doing that. You got frustrated because I didn't come. Nobody was having a good time. Let's do something else. Let's rub my belly. We both like that. So we want to always end on a positive note. Yes. Remember, every time she comes to you, say the word yes. Lowering your hand, even though my hand is empty, caused her to come to me. Now, usually you want to have a treat in that hand. Now, eventually you can get her to sit with this sort of hand motion. Let's see if I can do it here. Marley, come. Yes. So that's the last stage of doing it, because when a dog comes to me, I would prefer the dog comes and sit in front of me. So, but at first, all I want to do is come. If I'm trying to do this at first and she's not even sure about she wants to come to me and I'm trying to get her to sit, some dogs don't sit because they're not comfortable in the situation. And when I'm adding an extra element that's making it more difficult. All I want at first is her to come. That's why we want to be about 7 feet apart. Now, if it's just you and a friend, you can have your friend go back and forth. But if she goes to your friend and your friend didn't call, your friend should just kind of cross their arms and look up. And then you would wait for Marley to look at you. As soon as she looks at you, lower your hand and crouch down if you need to. Yes, when she arrives, you always say yes before she gets the treat. And after a while, you'll be able to say come, she comes to you. Now, the first part of this video that I talked about saying, rewarding her every time she comes on her own is the absolute easiest, like come. I tried to sneak it, and I snuck it in a little bit late. Right there, I probably should have just said yes and gotten her to come. Now, she's going to turn around and come back to me, and this is what I was talking about earlier. I was just going to wait for her to do it on her own. And she's kind of looking for something to get into. Yes. Now there I enticed her. What I was talking about is really just waiting for her to come to you on her own volition and then rewarding her when she does it. That is absolutely the easiest way to do it. It just means you need to get in the habit of doing it. All right, Marley, can you sit for us? I should just say sit. Yes. This is my buddy Marley, and these are some tips you can use if you have a dog that does not like to come to you when you call them. Can you stop it? Yes, Marley.